Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be talking about my Sped observation hours. Pretty interesting stuff if you ask me. I'm sorry if this video is really awkward. I'm just sitting here talking to my computer. So I did my 20 hours in a fourth grade classroom at the Darnell Intermediate School with Miss Hernis. She had about 24 students in the classroom at each time, and then 7 were ESL and 3 of them were special education. ESL students are students that are looking to make English their second language, and these classes that they go to help them with the reading and the writing and the understanding of the English language beyond what's covered in the general classrooms. And then the special ed students are any student that has exceptional needs, such as students with learning disabilities or mental challenges. I would say that the students in my class exhibited their characteristics through verbal, like they wouldn't want to read out loud because they struggled to read in English, and they wouldn't want to ask questions because they didn't want people to make fun of them for not knowing what words to use for what at times. My two special ed students that really stood out were the ones with the hearing and visual impairments. The visual one exhibited it by needing to sit really close to the board, and the hearing one exhibited by needing things to be repeated and said a little bit louder for him to actually understand it and get it. In the very beginning of the observation hours, she had the students seated in two clusters of 12. And then towards the end, though, she made it to where there were 4 rows of 6 students, all facing the board, and then her desk was off to the left. The classroom rules were definitely in place, but I feel like the students didn't really care about them because the teacher didn't really enforce them very much. She had a system, and I put the system here on the slide, but it's too long. Half the time when they got the marks, she didn't even sign their logs. So I feel like the students interacted well with each other, and they also interacted well with Miss Harness, and I also interacted well with them. They were not afraid to ask me for help, and they weren't afraid to ask her either. So obviously they had a level of comfort, but it was almost a little too much because they never behaved correctly. I worked with a student who had a hearing impairment, and I put my remedial plan into the slide here. I think that it would be beneficial for him to learn a little bit of sign language so he didn't have to struggle so much to hear. And I think that it would be good to figure out which pitches could be heard the best for him as well. Basically, working with the student only made me more excited to be a special ed teacher. I mean, there are very few things that I'm nervous about, but one of them being like getting out in the field and actually having to handle it, and having this experience was really good for me. And